I'm Damaris and I'm about to present my personal philosophy. The unexamined life is not worth living, Socrates. To put you in context first, you need to know what philosophy means. Philosophy is love for wisdom, and this was created for people to understand the world we live in, how we relate to everything, how things were made of, how they appear, and many more things that don't have an answer yet. In the past, there were some philosophers that explain things that are really important, and they have interesting theories of how things exist. These philosophers are Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Kant, Nietzsche, Bentham, Descartes, Hume, Kuhn, Sartre, Beauvoir, Heidegger, Kierkegaard, and many others. In addition, philosophy studies different branches such as aesthetics, ethics, epistemology, metaphysics, and logic. Each one of them deals with something different. Now, let's talk about metaphysics. So, what is it? Metaphysics studies in a very general way what there is, what exists, and how it is. In other words, deals with existence and reality. Aristotle gave this name to what is after physics. Do you believe in God? Each person has their opinion about the existence of God, and each one of them decides to believe in something. Not necessarily all have to agree. As for my beliefs, God exists and is a single God along with his disciples. The discussion of the existence of God began with Plato and Aristotle, but there were other philosophers who proposed different things. For example, Thomas Aquinas, who was a Catholic theologian figure in history, who presented the 5 ways, where he gave proofs about the existence of God. Aristotle is related to the second way because it mentions that for the causes and effects that we see in the world to make sense, there must be a beginning, which is God, and Aristotle said everything has a beginning. Now that we are aware of God's existence, do you know how the universe was created? The most famous theory about how the universe was created is the Big Bang theory. Besides being just a theory, there is scientific evidence that supports this and proves that it's true. To several scientists, the universe was created from nothing due to quantum fluctuations, which made the explosion and everything began. So matter found a way to create the primordial elements. According to this theory, the universe was created from a small bubble that can grow or not. In case it doesn't grow, it becomes non-existent, but if it grows, this becomes a universe, thus creating the Big Bang. Of course, exist many other theories, but this is the one I believe in. Now, let's talk about reality. Is when we think we see what is real, but we don't know if it's really real. And this creates confusion at the moment of knowing what is real and what is not. The reality, I think we created, but at the same time, it is something independent of us. We created at the time of creating things. For example, for us, something real was a teddy bear before. But when you know how birds are, your perspective changes, and what you thought was real is no longer. So how do we know that a bear is real? Everything we see occupies an extra dimension, and we know that there are many layers of reality, but we don't know what they are. What Plato wants us to believe is that at this moment we are in a cave, since he said the world is a shadow of a higher reality, and that is why our mistake is to believe that the objects we see, have, and touch is the most real thing that exists. Now we know more about metaphysics, so let's see ethics now. A good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. Plato. Ethics is a system of moral principles that affect decisions that people make to have a good life and differentiate if their actions are good or bad. It studies the things we consider valuable. Let's see what some philosophers said about human life and behavior. First, we have Socrates, who talked about the Socratic method, that was to ask questions to get to the truth. He thought about virtue. He said virtue can be learned. This means we can learn to be good. He also thought about ignorance. Sometimes we're so ignorant that we do things wrong and we do not want to learn to do them correctly. Now is Plato's turn. His ethics is based on a theory of forms, that there is a material and a real world. He developed phase 3 of his theory, where he realized that human beings are complete if they have their 3 souls. Each one represented something different. The brain was logic and refers to looking for the truth. The emotional is the heart and says that you should let yourself be carried away by your feelings, and appetite is the physical desires, which is about all the basic things we need to survive. What Plato was saying was that we have to control our actions to find a balance in our souls to be ethical people. An example that could be adapted to the three souls is to copy in an exam. If I don't study, my physical desire will be to want to copy another colleague's exam, but I have to take into account my emotions and my stress. Do I feel the need to copy? Also my thoughts. Is what am I doing good? Should I ask the teacher for help instead of copying a classmate? That is when the three souls influence, and we must always think before acting. We don't know what the consequences could bring us. Now we'll see Aristotle, who talked about the final cause. The final cause is referred to those things that fulfill the objective for which they were created. Life becomes valuable when the final cause of the object is reached. Eudaimonia is a feeling of fullness which encompasses the phenomenon of living according to reason and doing the things that we have to. This theory is so the human being becomes a better person and offers positive things. That is why he talked about virtue and the golden mean. He said that virtue is in the middle of the two extremes. The golden mean he showed it as a balance between excesses and deficiencies. Always treat people as ends in themselves, never as means to an end. Something very important for Kant was freedom, which refers to the fact that we can choose between desire and reason. By making this decision, we can become moral human beings. For Kant, there were two ways of acting, the hypothetical or the categorical imperative. The hypothetical refers to actions that are guided by desire and that are done to obtain a reward. On the other hand, the categorical, Kant's favorite, is to perform those actions according to duty, law, and reason, while expecting nothing in return. Now, let's talk about epistemology. What is it? Epistemology studies the origin, nature, methods, validity, and limits for human knowledge. About truth, I believe in relativism. There are many truths since people have opinions and beliefs. If this didn't exist, it would be a single one truth because there will be no other things to think about. Of course, there are levels of truth, where each concept is located to know if they are absolute truths, if they are opinions, if the truth was acquired through the senses, among other things. Speaking about knowledge, it can be understood that it comes from many places. As for my beliefs, I agree with Plato. We are born with all the knowledge, but this will depend on your discoveries. As we grow, we will unlock knowledge, and we will be remembering in an easy way to carry this out with the Socratic method. It also exists in non-Western epistemology, and I will tell you what I think. I think I sometimes use this epistemology since I like to go with the flow. It is interesting learning about what I experience, and sometimes in life it's okay if we don't understand things. At some time we will understand it. So calm down, be patient, and just enjoy what you're living right now. Now let's see aesthetics. What is it? Aesthetics deals with the nature and appreciation of art, beauty, and good taste. Let's talk about beauty and ugly. Through the years, beauty has had different significance. It has been understood like order and symmetry, inner light, ordinary things, and many others, but everyone will have a different opinion of what beauty is. We can call ugly something that isn't pleasant to look at. Just like beauty, everyone has a different perception of ugly. For me, a dog could be beautiful, and for someone else, it's ugly. How about art? Do you know what is it? Well, art is generally understood as any activity or product done by people with communicative or aesthetic purpose, something that expresses an idea, an emotion, or more generally, a worldview. The philosopher Collingwood talked about art. He divided it into two types of art, amusement and magical art. The first one people use to escape from reality and have fun, and the second one change the way you see, interact in the world. This will depend on how you see things. And here are my references. Thank you for watching. Finally, I want to say that I really like philosophy. I thought it was something boring or stuff like that, but on the contrary, I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting, all of the content that we see, and I didn't know much of the philosophers that we see, but I thought that it was really interesting to know most of them, their theories, how they thought about in the past, how they create something like that. And I know that I'm not agree with all of them and all of his theories, their theories, but it was interesting knowing most of them. And my favorites were Plato, Aristotle, and Kant. I really like them, the theories they had in all of the branches of philosophy, and it was a very interesting semester.